Yeah, you're welcome back to Decision 2019, where we provide context and perspective on the most important issues around Nigeria's general elections. I am Christian Ogodo. Thanks for staying with us. The Independent National Electoral Commission this last Saturday conducted governorship elections and state houses of assembly across 29 of 36 states across Nigeria. So far, the ruling APC leads the PDP in 22 states announced by the electoral umpire, with 5 states declared inconclusive. I think the PDP or the APC is leading in 12 states and the PDP in about 7 states. But we got more analysis on the electoral conduct and results announced so far. And here in the studio, I've been joined by Dr. Suleiman Barnabas. He's of the Baze University. He's a political sociologist and, like I said, lecturer at Baze University. Nice seeing your face again.
Thank you.
Before the governorship elections, you tried some permutations here and there, and some of them have come to pass, you know. But take an overview of the general elections. Look at the issue of announcing some results, some inconclusive, and the rest, you know.
Yes, like we actually predicted, it was going to be a tough context. The challenges we have now, inconclusive results, suspended, you know, elections and all. We can still trace the problem to the attitude of our politicians. You know, the rate of desperation to win elections at all costs, which has actually led to the criminalities that we have actually witnessed in the course of this election, is actually worrying, very worrisome. And I hope that politicians will have a rethink if actually their intention is to serve the people, then they must be temperate. You cannot kill to win elections. You cannot maim to win elections. And these challenges, I think our security agencies, the stakeholders, all the actors must, you know, have the interest of the country, the interest of democracy at heart, so that they can actually mellow down, you know, the rate at which they are going.
And with this kind of position, you know, that you've adduced, where political actors or leaders tend to turn the table, you know, in their favor at all costs, could be dangerous for democratic development and the rest, like we saw in the governorship election, the apathy that followed it and the rest.
Extremely dangerous. I mean, for so many reasons. First, what is democracy? It is the government of the people. What that means is that the people must bring leadership, you know, produce the leadership for the states, the National Assembly, and so on and so forth. So when people emerge, when leaders emerge that are not reflective of the will of the people, then there's no democracy. So what we are trying to do, what our politicians are doing by trying to militarize, you know, our democracy, trying to use talks, you know, to win elections at all means, is all these attitudes are totally anti-democratic. And until they stop, we have not just the problem of, you know, criminalities that we have, but a situation where we have leaders that do not reflect our wishes, our will, which is totally undemocratic and unacceptable in any civilized world.
How is that capable of affecting governance?
Of course, because they were not elected. When they get there, you can't hold them accountable for their actions. You see, democracy is not just a process that produces, you know, leaders. It must be, there must be a feedback. I mean, the leaders are also accountable to the voters. But in a situation where you have people who emerge as leaders who were not elected by the people, then they wouldn't be accountable. And so they just go there and make money for themselves without necessarily meeting the needs of the people, because the people normally demand of their leaders the things they want done before they vote for them. And so those who emerge without the people's will just go ahead and do whatever they want to do. After all, you didn't vote them, so they can afford to even punish you for not voting them.
Okay, let's look at some of the key issues that are worrisome during the conduct. If we go to Rivers State, over militarization, like you said, and even the international community getting worried with the military's overbearing presence, and of course the military has replied to say, look, those were not their men. They are political thugs dressed up, you know, in army uniforms and the rest, and even went further to caution or warn the United Kingdom not to interfere or deride the military institution. Do you think, is that diplomatic?
Well, first of all, the military, you know, they didn't do the right thing by responding directly to the United Kingdom or the EU, as the case might be. It's not their responsibility. You see, there are institutional roles, you know, and the military cannot play the role that ought to have been played by the foreign ministry. So that was not appropriate. Having said that, you see, the militarization of democracy in Rivers State and South-South, generally speaking, is not a new thing anyway, because the Rivers State, I mean, historically, in our Fourth Republic, the leaders that have emerged from Rivers State have always emerged through writing of results. I'm saying this from what all the gladiators, you know, the political thespians in that environment have actually come out to tell us, you know, whether it is Wike, Amechi, and also they know themselves. They know very well that to win election in Rivers State, you need a combination of resources, let's use that word now, which means, you know, thugs or militants, you know, the military, money, all kinds of, you know, on democratic, or, you know, what we call demagoguery, you know, to ensure that they win elections. And so that has been the problem before now. But you see, we cannot continue to repeat that mistake, you know. So there ought to be a departure from the past, from which has never been good, to something now that we want for the growth of our democracy. Now that we have a president who, you know, the general believes that is someone of integrity, we must not allow Rivers State and other states that have witnessed this militarization and undemocratic politics, you know, to destroy whatever is left of that reputation. And I think that the president has a role to play here. Other stakeholders have their roles to play to ensure that the right thing is done. Totally wrong to militarize democracy, but the case of Rivers State is very, 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 you know, peculiar, because I can tell you that without the military in Rivers State, the number of deaths we would have witnessed would have been more than what you have here. So the politicians, their attitude, their behavior is key to why the military cannot afford to leave, you know, Rivers.
Yeah, okay, let's leave that aside. The demagoguery you talked about, I remember asking the INEC chairman during the days of, in the collation room, briefing the press on the daily activities of INEC, that this INEC has conducted more inconclusive elections than any other electoral commission. And he tried to, you know, not to justify this thing, but we're seeing it at play today, about 5 states or 6 states or so, inconclusive, where some people, watchers, say, what is inconclusive in these elections? What are your views here? Key states.
Well, my view about INEC's position on elections that are inconclusive is that it's very, very unfortunate. And when you look at it, you know that the standard, you know, is not, you know, the same. You are encouraging politicians to come up with all kinds of criminal, activities. If they know that an opposition party or the other party is going to win in this particular place, they go there and destroy the votes. And then
that seems to be the conclusion of everybody, that this is a new tendency or trend.
Exactly. And you cannot encourage them to continue along that path with this new nomenclature called inconclusive elections. I mean, it's disappointing. INEC and its officials are, should be held responsible for this, unprofessional or ineffective, conduct. And they should do something, because people are getting disappointed. Voters' confidence, the confidence of voters continue to decline when we see a situation where some places you declare results irrespective of whatever, can define it as conclusive. So that discretion of INEC must be subjected to high level of, of impartiality. Because what people, the opinion, the impression of people now is that INEC has interest in those states where they declare elections as inconclusive. Like
but we've seen INEC demonstrate real altruism, impartiality, even in the Niger Delta, that was so militarized that the opposition PDP said the APC, leadership or government was bent on taking over. We saw, the clean sweep of the polls in Cross River, in Akwa Ibom, in Delta State. So wouldn't you give kudos to INEC for a job well done?
Well, I'm not saying that INEC has failed totally. And you see, at times you need strong individuals who can give credibility to the institution. What you have, the situation in Akwa Ibom is because you have someone who has character. Mike Igini has demonstrated, not just now, over time, that is someone of integrity, and we should actually, commend him for that. INEC, as we have it today, is not just Mahmoud, it's not just Igini. The other, staff of INEC must also learn from these people who can sacrifice anything, including the inducements, the money, the huge money they offer them. They refuse these things just so as to get it right. If you have it in Akwa Ibom and you have the same thing in Kogi State, you have the same thing across the country, then people wouldn't complain. But of course, there are clear, situations where we see INEC officials, complicit in what we are experiencing. And in some cases, some of them have been arrested.
The police, is come under some kind of attack here and there of not being so much being proactive, to their duties and the rest. But yet, loads of the elections, the processes have gone, peacefully, fairly, although very regrettably that about 59 Nigerians have been killed. A point in, in hand is the Kanu situation, and a lot of Nigerians are applauding the heroism of the Kanu State Police Commissioner. You want to expatiate on that? Yes.
Like I said earlier, there are individuals, there are Nigerians that are honest. As honest as anyone that you can think about. And the Commissioner of Police, remember this same Commissioner of Police was the Commissioner of Police in Katsina State.
Katsina State, yes.
And it was his professionalism, his, very decent man, actually, that led to the new IG posting him to Kanu. And he has actually justified it. We encourage others, because 1 out of 20, out of 36 is not enough. It's not good enough. Yeah. Because the average policeman that we have today can take bribe from his wife. The average policeman. So when you have one that is
I think that's overgeneralization. That's a huge
that's the perception. I'm talking about researches that have come out, in terms of how this is micro level analysis. When you talk about people who have tried to.
But doesn't a society deserve the kind of police?
Of course they do. They do better.
So how about the people?
The people, particularly in this context, the politicians, they can bribe anybody. They believe that everyone has a price. But we are seeing now that among, these so-called corrupt people, we have people who are ensuring that the right things are done, and in the process are giving good names to these institutions. And that's what the current
Commissioner of Police in Kano, because a lot of crisis was averted,
yes,
in Nasarawa local government area.
Having to arrest a serving commissioner of in Kano State and the local government chairman. Very few policemen will do it. Some will aid, with 100 million. Some of them will arrest their family members.
Who was given 100 million?
I mean, we read there that the police was being induced with 100 million naira. And
the commissioner of police? The
commissioner of police, and he refused.
Very interesting. very interesting. If that happened, then I think the police, they are turning a good leaf then, and they are still men of integrity, men and women of integrity. I shouldn't always forget to be adding women, to it. But now, let's look at the crux again of these inconclusive elections. It's given a different, slant from the opposition PDP, saying that, look, it's only in areas, strongholds of the APC before, that we are now making inroads that are being declared inconclusive. Do you think the party has a justification for this?
Yes, there are genuine reasons. I mean, there are clear reasons as to making those allegations. If you look at most of the states that have been declared inconclusive, you discover that most of them are the states where the opposition, that's the PDP, are making headway, are leading. And I can tell you for sure that what is happening in Kano, if it was the other way around, that APC of Ganduji, or Ganduji of APC, was leading with over 1 million, over 1 million votes, I'm sure maybe the story there today would have been different. And that's why INEC, the INEC chairman now, the INEC national chairman, must actually talk to his staff and actually take some very courageous steps, because you have counted results, and there at the collation center, all these results have been signed by the agents of the various political parties, and then you see some talks gain entrance, and they are gaining entrance. They didn't succeed in some APC states, but they are succeeding in PDP states. I mean, you give room, to rubbish whatever effort you have done. So we shouldn't allow the situation in Kano and some other states that are so obvious to destroy all the good works, I mean, all the good works in quotes now, that INEC, has done. So they should, be, and particularly for the elections that will be conducted, that is the supplementary elections now, they must ensure that the right things are done. The Osun State situation should not repeat itself.
Why should, let's take Kano for example, why should they be conducting a runoff, election in Nasarawa State? I remember the night the little skirmishes happened, the REC had announced to the world that they're going to rely on their primary data to announce the results. So what changed in this circumstance?
Pray not to be in the situation that most of the INEC, REC, and what do you call them now? The returning officers. Just pray not to be there. The pressures are just too much. Pressure from the incumbent governors who are going to who seem, to be losing. Pressures from other, stakeholders, and they are in situation. I mean, they are entwined, between good and evil, between doing the right thing and the wrong thing. I mean, if not for the insistence and perseverance of Mike Igini, with all the names and everything, he would have actually succumbed to the pressure that he received. The same way Mike Igini was pressured by stakeholders, that's what people in Kano, I mean, that is the REC in Kano and other states are facing. Now we know those who can actually sacrifice anything, including their life, for this country, doing the right thing for our democracy. And so if the right things were done, I'm telling you that particularly what is happening in Kano, the results would have been declared, because clearly the PDP candidate, has won that election.
Let's go to Adamawa, the home of the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party. When he was in APC, APC won that state. And we have about how many polling units? Close to 44. So he said to be in dispute, and the election is going to be, reconducted in those units. But so far, the opposition party seems to be in the lead, but too close to call. So, sociologically, what if we look at it, what should we be expecting when that election is reconducted there? Because it's inconclusive too.
Yes, just the same way it's inconclusive, that's how we cannot conclude on what the outcome, will be. But the truth is, it's going to be a very tough race there, context there, considering the Atiku factor, and then the fact that some people within APC are not even supporting the incumbent, Bido. So these are things that are, so it could go either way. As it stands today, we cannot be sure of what will happen. But the only role INEC has to play there is that those places where elections have been cancelled, where they will be rerun, they should conduct free, credible elections, so that anybody who emerges at the end of it all will understand that he has won the election, fairly, without necessarily being, imposed.
Would it be, expedient in states where the elections are inconclusive, to deploy some other regs? I know INEC has done that before, where you have about 3-4 regs overseeing election in a state, when it's not the general elections. If a situation like that with what is happening, wouldn't that be expedient for INEC to do?
Yes, it's possible. I mean, if
you see somebody like Mikey Guinea being redeployed to Kano or Sokoto states, where it's a real battle in those two states. Yeah,
if they choose to do that, that will be fine. But again, beyond that, it's just for them to create the enabling environment for people to vote. It's not, I mean, if you take Mikey Guinea to Kano, I can tell you, I mean, you take this to the bank, that PDP will win in Kano.
The way you're putting it is as if he's a party man.
No. In fact, if there's any, if at all, I think
I know he's apolitical, yes.
But extremely apolitical about that. You see, Ganduje has so many things working against him. Well,
that was part of your analysis then, and the Kwankwasia movement is still very strong.
I mean, can you imagine that the deputy governor, thank God for his immunity, he would have been arrested. So he wasn't arrested, he was taken into protective custody. And you know what that means when the police are on the scene where elections were being manipulated. And those he went with, 2 of them are in detention as we speak, the commissioner and the local government chairman
of
So if you look at the way things are going, if INEC wants to save us from tensions, from violence in Kano, they should just do the right thing. Like it or not, as it is in Kano today, Ganduje knows that he's on his way out.
And in Sokoto, quickly, very briefly, because we're running out of time.
Yeah, in Sokoto...
you still have the Wamako factor against
yes, yeah, it could go either way. But I think that Tambuwa is really seeing to it that he would retain that seat.
Okay, and another surprise that occurred was in Oyo State. You had said, yes, it could definitely go the way of the PDP.
Yes, I mean, using the presidential, situation, we said Oyo, and it happened that way. Again, because of the failure of the APC to reconcile their differences between the minister and the outgoing governor, and so it was clear that the PDP was going to win, take advantage of the fracas within the ruling party, which they did successfully.
All right, okay, I'm just being told that our time is up. Dr. Barnabas Suleiman is a political sociologist at the Baze University here in Abuja. Thanks very much for your insightful analysis on Decision 2019. We look forward to seeing you some other time again.
Thank you so much.
Well, that's it for this edition of Decision 2019. Join us again for a fresh edition tomorrow. From me and the entire team here in Abuja, goodbye and thanks for watching.